Today I want to talk about this guy and what he did. His name was Christopher Dorner. He was a retired naval reservist, and he was a disgruntled LAPD officer who was fired in 2009 for allegedly lying on a report to get another officer in trouble. He felt he was mistreated by the LAPD and they tainted his name. So he went out on a murder spree, murdering innocent people in order to, quote, get his name cleared, which makes about as much sense as trying to heal a broken finger by smashing it with a sledgehammer. It all started on February 3rd in Irvine, California, right over here. Right on the top of this parking structure right here. Christopher Dorner ambushed two people, a woman named Monica Kwan and her fiance whose name was Keith Lawrence. Monica Kwan was the daughter of a retired LAPD captain named Randall Kwan. Randall Kwan was Christopher Dorner's defense attorney during his dismissal, and Chris Dorner felt that Randall Kwan did not do enough to save his job, so in order to get even with him and to, quote, clear his name, Christopher Dorner went and murdered his daughter, Monica, and her fiance, Keith Lawrence. Now this is the area where they were ambushed, and you can see there's a hazmat team cleaning up the mess. I'm guessing there was blood there, but this kind of suggests that either their car might have been parked in here or up here in this first area. One of these three parking spaces is where their car was parked. I'm just not sure which one. Here's another angle of the same area. You can see them cleaning up the area. My guess is they were probably parked right here in this third parking space, is my guess. Like I said, I could be wrong. Could have been the second or the first one, but I'm just going to make the assumption that it was this third one right here. And if you notice this yellow wall right here, you can see on Google Earth, as we get a little closer, that yellow wall is right here, and these are the three parking spaces, one of the three that they were parked at. I'm guessing it was maybe this third one, or it could have been the second one, but it was one of these. And like I said, that happened on February 3rd, 2013. The next place that Christopher Dorner showed up occurred on February 5th, and that was way down in San Diego, down south. At the naval base at Point Loma on February 5th. Records showed that he checked in properly, but he did not use the proper checkout when he left, and he just left. It was February 6th that he showed up in this area right here, the Southwestern Yacht Club, at about 10 p.m. at night on February 6th. He attempted to steal an 81-year-old man's yacht, 42-foot yacht, tied the man up, told him he was going to float it or drive it to Mexico. He started to back out. A rope got caught in the prop of the ship or the boat, and it broke the prop and broke the engine. He couldn't steal it, so he basically jumped off the boat and headed north. And the next place he was seen was up near Corona at about 1 a.m. in the morning. He was seen right here at this AM/PM gas station February 7th at about 1 a.m. Now, if we go down to Street View, you can get an idea of what it looked like. So here it is. A citizen spotted him, did not approach him, but he did see a passing police car, and it happened to be an LAPD police car who was on special assignment in the area, assigned to protect a couple of people that were on Christopher Dorner's hit list. When the officers saw Christopher Dorner, they started to follow him, and I'll exit Street View here. They followed him down through here, head north again. Christopher Dorner came under the 15 freeway, got onto the on-ramp, and headed north and went to the very next exit right here, which is Magnolia Avenue. And he got off the freeway and he made a right turn and he stopped his vehicle roughly right about in here. The police car came up off the ramp and started to make a right turn, and that's when Christopher Dorner started firing at him. And the distance between where he fired from and where he fired to really is not that far, maybe 5 car lengths. And it's a miracle that no police officer was killed or even seriously wounded. But this is the area where he fired at 2 LAPD officers in Corona. Here's a photo you can see right here. There's the police car with the windshield riddled with bullet holes. And you can see all these yellow evidence tags right here marking every shell that came out of Christopher Dorner's weapon. You can also see right here this lettering that says signal, and some of the shells landed on top of it, but most of them were just this side of it. Over here to the left, you can see this arch white line that goes around like this. And if we go back to Google Earth, you can see right here, here is that white line that has the arch in it. This is the area where all the yellow evidence tags are with the used up shells right about here. So, and the police car would have been right here. So this is the location where he opened up on the 2 officers, did not kill any of them or even seriously wound them. One of them had a grazed bullet grazed his head, but didn't hurt him. After that, he jumped into his truck and headed north, and then turned right on Magnolia Avenue and headed into Riverside, California. Way down here to the corner of Magnolia and Arlington. And what happened here, Chris Dorner came up and pulled into this lane right here and was waiting at a red light. Just to his left was a taxi cab. Across the street here, there was a car parked at the red light here, and behind that car, a police car came rolling down, and you can see it on the police car's dash cam that has been on YouTube. Came rolling down, changed lanes, pulled into here, and just as he was coming to a stop, you can see Chris Dorner roll through a red light, go out of sight from the dash cam, and then just a fraction of a second later, it looks like smoke comes into the police car when he fired on him, killing Officer Michael Crane and seriously wounding Officer Andrew Tackius. This here is Officer Michael Crane, the one that was pretty much killed instantly, leaving behind a wife and kids. And here is a picture of Andrew Tackius, his partner, who did live but had serious damage to both of his arms. He was never able to go back on patrol, but he did go back to work in Riverside, working in the office. Now, what happened after the shooting is you can see on the YouTube video that the police car, after it's shot, starts to slowly roll forward all the way across the intersection and passes between the taxi that was right here and this island. And as it passes through here, the taxi driver jumped out of his car, ran up to it, reached inside, put the police car in park, and stopped it right about in here. And the next place that they found evidence of Christopher Dorner was way up in the mountains in Big Bear, California, right over here. It was on this fire road right in here somewhere. Now, I don't know the exact place, but I do know it was somewhere along this dirt fire road here, and that's where they found his burning truck that happened to have a broken axle. Now, they kind of lost track of him after that, but what happened next is he was not heard from again until February 12th, and it was right here in this area. I'm going to turn this around, get in a little closer. And it was one of these, it was either this one here or this one here that he broke into. And he was there from, they believe he was there from February 7th to February 12th. And this little resort here is owned by a married couple named Jim and Karen Reynolds. They hadn't been there in a while, and what they were doing is they were going up there to check on one of the rooms that they use for long-term rentals. It had not been rented in a while. So they walked into that room. Chris Dorner came out of one of the rooms pointing a gun at him saying, "Stay calm, I'm not going to hurt you." Karen Reynolds turned around and tried running out. Chris Dorner ran toward her, grabbed her, and pulled her back in. The whole ordeal lasted about 15 minutes, but what he ended up doing was tying Karen and Jim up and gagging them, and then he took their car key, to their purple Nissan and asked Jim Reynolds how to start the car. Through his gag, he was able to explain to him how to start the car, and Chris Dorner left the area in the stolen purple Nissan. Now, it went out over the radio to go look for a stolen purple Nissan, and as you can see, there's only 3 ways to get off this mountain. It's down this road here, down this road here, and of course over the top and down this road here. So what Chris Dorner did is he started heading down the 38, which is this one here, and it was somewhere in this area, right about in here, where a fish and game officer was driving opposite direction. Chris Dorner was coming from the east to the west, and the officer was driving from the west to the east. What the officer saw was 2 school buses driving, and directly behind the 2 school buses was the purple Nissan. And as the fish and game officer drove by, he looked and identified Chris Dorner as the driver. The fish and game officer did a U-turn. Chris Dorner saw him do a U-turn, immediately sped around the 2 buses and turned down Glass Road right here. The officer also went around the buses, did not see him turn down Glass Road, and continued going straight down 38. Now, Chris Dorner, what he did going down this road, now I've been on this road, and it's a very narrow road, and it's downhill, and it's steep. He was going too fast, and on one of these turns, it was either this one here or this one here. I think it was this one here where he lost control, crashed the car, had to get out. And then coming up the road was a guy named Rick Heltebrake in his truck. And he said just before as he was approaching a right-hand turn, he could see the crashed car. He also saw Christopher Dorner come out of the trees and point his rifle toward him. Rick Heltebrake stopped his truck, put it in park, and put his hands up. Christopher Dorner very calmly said, "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want your truck. So step out, go up the road, and take your dog with you." Rick Heltebrake said, "Can I get the dog's leash?" Chris Dorner said no, so Rick Heltebrake started walking up the road. Chris Dorner jumped in the truck, did a U-turn, and started heading down Glass Road. Now, according to Rick Heltebrake, he says he was not walking up the road for much more than 10 seconds when he heard an eruption of gunfire take place behind him. He said he dove into the snow behind a tree for protection, and that just happened to be when 2 fish and game officers, or actually 2 vehicles with 3 fish and game officers, came driving up the road. They were driving trucks. The lead truck, driven by a lone fish and game officer, went first, and then the second truck behind him with 2 officers in it, Chris Dorner rolled his window down, put his gun out the window, and fired at the second vehicle as he passed them. They returned fire, did not hit him, but he ended up going down the road, down Glass Road, all the way to Seven Oaks Road, and he went to this area here where there was a cabin. There was a cabin right here, and this is where he had his last stand. Now, the fish and game officers radioed that they spotted him going down this road. So 2 San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies went looking for him. They said they had no idea, or one of them said they had no idea that he was actually here. So what they did is they saw these cabins, and they decided as they went down the road, they would clear each cabin. And as they came out down the road, they stopped their vehicle roughly right in here and got out of their vehicles and started to kind of walk across the street. And that's when Chris Dorner opened fire on them, shooting both of them. It was Deputy Jeremiah McKay and Deputy Alex Collins. Jeremiah McKay would pretty much die on the spot here, where Alex Collins would survive and end up making a full recovery, although he was shot on the left side of his face, his left arm, and his left leg, pretty serious wounds. You can see clearly here, this empty lot is where the cabin used to be, and this tree right here kind of identifies its location as well as this cabin and this little shed does. Here you can see in this photo where the cabin was, where the burned cabin is or was, and there's the tree right there. I live so close to this area that I decided to go up and take some video footage to see what it looks like today, and this is what I found. So here's the tree that you can see in the photo and from Google Earth, and this is the location where the cabin was. It's no longer there, it's just an empty lot, but this is where it happened. I also noticed while I was going through photos, right here you can see some blood on the ground where one of the officers fell on the ground after being shot. As a result, I did a little bit of searching for other photos, and this is what I found. As you can see here, one of the officers was here and the other one was here, very close together. They stopped their vehicle right about here on the road. It was a Dodge Durango, but like I said, unfortunately, one of the officers would give the ultimate sacrifice. Now, I don't want to focus on this picture for morbid reasons. What I want to do is focus on this picture, and I'm identifying all these little cracks in the road here and how they are indicators that come down through here, and you can see the pretty much the exact location where the two officers fell and where one of them gave the ultimate sacrifice. So out of respect for the fallen officer, I took some video footage of the area to share on this vlog, and this is what I found. So here I am at the road. You can see the cracks in the road, and then the one that comes around through here and kind of points would have been right about in here, where one of the officers was lying, and the other one would have been right about over here. So right here where the cabin used to be, the front of the cabin, from here out across here and across the road to where the deputies were shot, is a very close distance. I know you can't see it in the video, but really the distance from here to here is 40, maybe 50 feet. Very close, very short range. And right here in front of this old dead tree trunk, you can see, looks like they put a little memorial there for the fallen officer, Jeremy McKay. So there you have it, the Chris Dorner incident, the routes, the locations that he went on during his rampage to clear his name, which is the logic of a psychopath. All of that from Google Earth.